Hello, friends. Welcome to Cook to Nourish. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how long should one stay on AIP. Now, this is a question that many of my clients ask me, and even on social media, people always reach out to me and ask me that if they have Ray, how long should they be doing AIP? And generally, when people say AIP, they mean the AIP elimination phase. That is the most restrictive phase, and so that's why I wanted to do this quick video. So AIP elimination is that, right? It's an elimination diet. And that's why it's so restrictive, because what we are doing here is that we are avoiding everything that can be potentially inflammatory to our body. So we are avoiding a lot of different foods. And you have seen from my other videos, what things you need to avoid on AIP and what things you can eat on AIP. So, then when you do the AIP elimination, the idea is twofold. It has two benefits. Number one is that by avoiding all potentially inflammatory foods, you will, kind of reduce that inflammation in your body, as well as you're also feeding good foods, nutrient-dense, healing foods to the body, and that will help heal the body, right? That's number one. And then the number two, kind of a subtle benefit of doing this AIP elimination is that you also are able to identify what your food sensitivities are, So you start by doing AIP elimination, and then after a period of time, and I'll get to that, but after a period of time, you will then slowly add foods one at a time. And then in that process of reintroducing foods, you can identify, which foods you may be sensitive to, right? So that is the other huge benefit of doing the elimination diet. Now, going back to how long should you do this, the general recommendation of the people who, put this AIP elimination diet together, hugely by Dr. Sarah Ballantyne and some other pioneers before her as well. But their recommendation is generally to do it for a period of 30 to 90 days. That is 1 month to 3 months, right? They give you that broad guideline. So from your individual perspective, for example, if you're trying to do this on your own, the guidance that I can give you is try to observe your symptoms carefully. Go back to, not go back to, but, in the baseline itself, before you start doing AIP, make it a point to kind of write a baseline of all your symptoms, which includes, like, say, if you have RA and if you have pain in your joints, if your hands are stiff in the morning stiffness, kind of just give it a number between 0 and 10. What will you give it? If your knees are stiff, how will you rate it? What is the pain level if you have shoulder pain and things like that? So list out those symptoms, so that'll give like a very objective kind of measure. Also list out your other symptoms like fatigue, etc. And then at the end of the first month, you again go through that list and see where you are at. My guess is most of the times, 99% of the time, you will be feeling better after 1 month of AIP, because it does help to reduce inflammation. Now, at that point, there can be some people who will see a lot of benefit right at the end of first month, and they feel like, wow, they're feeling so much better, and they feel like they are ready for reintroduction. So at that point, if you can really see huge palpable benefit, between where you were at baseline and at the end of 1 month, I would say go ahead and start the reintroduction process. However, be very, very careful, super careful in terms of how you do the reintroduction process. Many people just kind of do the AIP elimination strictly, but then they just kind of go through the reintroduction like one after the other. They're not really observing their body carefully for symptoms. And then that is when, you didn't AIP right, in my opinion, because, whatever benefit you got from doing the AIP elimination phase, you actually lost it by just kind of breezing through the reintroductions and not really so you end up in a place where you really don't know what food sensitivities you have, right? But if you do the food reintroduction slowly, and carefully, one food at a time, then you know for sure that this particular food agrees with you, and this other particular food does not agree with you. So then you will get the full benefit of AIP. So 30 days is okay, but in general, most people, the average person with inflammation and autoimmune disease, for example, people with rheumatoid arthritis, whom I consult with, or in general, people who have had a diagnosis of autoimmune disease for at least a couple of years, I would say I would give it like at least 3 months on AIP elimination. Now, having said that, there are, caveats to this rule, right? So if there is, like, if I have a client whom I know by working one-on-one with a client, I know like the personality of the client and exactly how she feels, right, doing the AIP diet. So if I get a sense that this person is not really comfortable and is going through like anxiety, psychological and emotional issues, she's missing her non-AIP foods, and she's overall not doing so well being on strict AIP, then I might decide to start the reintroduction process sooner for this person, right? Although in general I would recommend 90 days, but there are exceptions is what I'm saying. And then the other extreme is for some people who have been sick for a long period of time. For example, if they have like too much chronic inflammation over the years, and they've been sick for like decades and decades, and then they are now beginning to do something about their body, it might take for them a while before they see real benefits. And in that case, sometimes even pushing the AIP elimination beyond the 3 months would make sense for people like that. And I have done that. I have now in the past 4 years or so have coached more than 200 people on AIP. And I have seen that for some people, just being on it for 5 months is what's needed for them to really show a difference. So there again, I think it makes sense to work with a practitioner, whether it's a nutritional therapy practitioner, AIP certified coach, or if it's your, functional medicine provider or a naturopath, but work with them closely if you're not comfortable doing it on your own. But those are, important things. And when I talked about objective measure, another important thing is also blood work. And I always talk about that, talk about objective measures of your symptoms and also doing blood work. So, if you are doing AIP elimination, I would work with my specialist, whether it's a rheumatologist for RA or endocrinologist for your Hashimoto's, ask them if they can give you, blood work to be repeated at a monthly interval. And at the very least, I would want you to do the blood work to look at your ESR, that is inflammation marker, along with CRP. Both of them are, will give you an idea about inflammation in your body. And looking at that can be an objective way of also knowing whether that AIP elimination is showing you benefits or not. And when you see that the inflammation has reduced to a great extent, then that's your, and symptom wise also, you begin to feel that difference, then it's the right time to, start reintroducing foods. And again, as I said before, reintroducing the foods is also important to do it in a systematic manner, and one after the, one by one at a time, and really observing carefully for symptoms. And only then you will be able to identify whether a particular food is agreeing with you or whether you are sensitive to that food. And lastly, it can be beneficial to continue to use this AIP elimination process, periodically. Especially what happens is, after people do AIP elimination strictly, they do reintroduction strictly, and they, for a year or so, they haven't reintroduced many foods or a majority of their foods that they love, and they're good, right? And then they're feeling really great. They feel like they've got their life back, and then life happens, right? You go you travel, you have parties, and then you reintroduce the non-AIP foods, and worse, like, like things like gluten, etc., creep into your diet, although it's not on a regular basis, but, here and there, you do that because you're not paying that much attention anymore. And then I would say at that stage, it always makes sense to kind of just do an AIP elimination every once in a while, so that you kind of give your body to heal, give your body that chance to heal, and kind of clean slate, and doing that will just help you heal faster. All right, so I hope this video was useful. See you guys.